Nearly 20 years ago, before pay-to-win and loot boxes even existed, Electronic Arts were all about the gameplay, and they were producing absolute classics like Road Rash on Sega. As a big fan of the original, my interest was immediately piqued when I heard about Road Redemption. Could it really be the spiritual successor to Road Rash? Will it do the original game the justice that it deserves? And can it improve on a classic? Or will it get its melon cracked open? Electronic Arts released 6 editions of Road Rash on a multitude of platforms, the last of which was on the original PlayStation. Road Rash offered something that had never been seen before, a high-tempo, high-speed, all-action beat-em-up on motorbikes. It was an instant hit, and people still speak fondly of this classic today. Thankfully, and in equal measure unfortunately, Road Redemption, developed by Ian Fitch and his team, does retain a vast majority of the features that were found in the original. It looks very similar, the gameplay mechanics are almost identical and the physics are practically indistinguishable. However, I want to make you aware very early on that there is a considerable amount of swearing in this game, and I mean a heck of a lot. At first, all this is quite disconcerting. Having paid your £15 for this new game, released in 2017, you almost immediately feel like you are playing a direct port of the original. The physics are dated, the gameplay is dated, the graphics are poor and the UI is just messy. For the first 20 to 30 minutes, I was absolutely adamant that I was going to get a refund on this shambles of a game. However, as time passed and I started to find the similarities of the original less offensive and more familiar, I started to warm to it a little. Let's be honest, the original was a hit for a reason. It offered a huge amount of fun and some noticeably challenging gameplay, requiring you to utilise your skills and often riding your luck to complete. This is something which modern EA titles don't appear to be able to manage today. There is a host of new stuff too! Rooftop tracks, critical hits, vertical jet boosts, and genetically enhanced man-robots. I kid you not. There are ranged attack weapons like rocket launchers, spades and poles. There are short-range weapons like swords, shotguns, and baseball bats with nails sticking out. There are pistols, submachine guns, dynamite, timed explosives, and much, much more. Unfortunately, this is simply not enough to satisfy modern day gaming expectations. There is a distinct lack of polish all over. The UI is a mess and the in-game physics and collision detection have not been improved one iota since the original. Some may argue that this is in keeping with its heritage, but I would have liked to have seen something a little more GTA. There are 4 gameplay modes available: Classic Quick Play, 4-player local co-op, online multiplayer and campaign. Basic Quick Play, as the name suggests, is just an instant gameplay action. Pick a track, pick a bike and character, and away you go. Nothing much to report here, it is what it is. Both the multiplayer and 4-player co-op options will likely leave you feeling somewhat dejected. The 4-player co-op just looks terrible, and I suspect that to be true even if you are playing on an enormous 4K TV. The online multiplayer is considerably limited. It comprises, in my experience at least, of a race between 2 teams of 4. The objective is to win the race and kill as many of your opponents as possible along the way. The first to 3 wins is the winner. At the end of each race there is a countdown where each team takes it upon themselves to try and rack up a few more kills. In multiplayer mode, it is very tricky to hit an opponent at all. Unlike the campaign mode or single player modes, there is no speed matching in place. Everyone is swinging about and changing speed at will. hitting someone is nearly impossible, even for those who are masters of the game. The most popular, and indeed the most deadly, approach seems to involve a stationary motorbike and a magnum. Then there is the campaign, which is intentionally made lengthier due only to the fact that you are not really meant to complete it on your first attempt, but rather through multiple repeated attempts, each of which is made a little bit easier thanks to some permanent upgrades which you can unlock through gathered XP and apply to a reasonably large skill tree. There are 16 tracks spanning 5 stages, each of which will have an end of level boss which you need to defeat within the given track length. Despite the game telling you it is randomizing track layout, enemies, weapons and vehicles at the start of each stage, I have to say I think it is always the same track, and worse than that, some of the later tracks I am almost certain are just the reverse of some of the earlier ones. There does however seem to be a variation of obstacles, from rolling tree logs to falling cars, with each stage getting progressively more difficult. There are quite a few weapons too, some of which I still don't know how to use as there is no tutorial, and there are quite a few bikes to choose from, all of which seem to handle in exactly the same way, and none of which can actually catch the leader's bikes no matter how fast and clean you take the corners without using additional boost. Within the game itself there are a variation of characters, some of which are targets and others which afford you power-ups and boosts. Some are enhanced human beings and others have special powers and abilities, whilst the bosses just tend to be faster and have a larger health bar. You can find at least up to 20 characters on screen at any one time, maybe even more than that, and you will on occasion take an absolute battering. But on the most part you can easily pick off whomever, whenever you choose. For me, the game runs a solid 60 FPS, and you even get the option to request a free key for another game called Defy Gravity, which does not make Road Redemption any better. So the verdict then? Well, it's terrible in many ways, and, as was the original, it is also brilliant in many other ways. I lost 3 hours into this game without any effort at all, but other than completing the campaign, I really don't see enough content here to entice me back. If you look at this game and think, I'd like to play that, then for £10 or £15, I guess you will be pretty happy and get some decent gameplay out of it. On the other hand, I think you might only play it a handful of times and ultimately become considerably bored with the game because of its terrible handling, collision detection and physics, and the considerable lack of any real content. Somewhat annoyingly, there are a number of DLCs available for this game, none of which add any content whatsoever. This is just another glaring example of developers wanting something for nothing. In lots of ways, I do miss gaming of old, but I don't think that dragging it back to the future in its original state is the correct way to rekindle the classics of the past. What is overwhelmingly undeniable though is the level of satisfaction that you get when you link together some killer moves and takedowns. Progress is slow and repetitive, but the fun factor is often surprisingly high. My name's Mike, this is SimUK, thanks for watching, till next time take care, goodbye for now.
Nice work, kid. The Sigmas bring technology. You bring death.